Good afternoon, council and staff, on this beautiful sunny day. And that simply means nobody's looked outside. We're going to call the meeting to order at 1 p.m. and the proceedings of this meeting will be recorded and made available on the internet. Ms. Clerk, can we have the conduct for the roll call, please?
Thank you. Mayor Clarkson, are you present?
I am.
Deputy Mayor Windover?
Present.
Councillor Armstrong?
Present.
Councillor Franzen?
Present.
Councillor Lambshead?
Present.
For staff, we have Donna Taggart, CAO Treasurer.
Present.
Steve Brockbank, Director of Emergency Services.
Present.
Evan Grieger, Director of Public Works.
Present.
Adele Arbor, Planner.
Present.
Bianca Dragicevic, Temporary Records Coordinator.
Present.
Sarah Delamarter, Junior Planner.
Present.
And Chelsea Carpenter, Public Works Waste Coordinator. Is there if you need her.
Okay, we respectfully acknowledge that Trent Lakes and Peterborough County are located on the Treaty 20 of the Mississauga Territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which include Alderville, Beausoleil, Curve Lake, Georgina Island, Hiawatha, Rama, and the Scoogite Islands First Nations. Trent Lakes respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they will continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. We will now take a moment to reflect on these principles and our duties and responsibility as members of council. Thank you. Now we've got a really pleasant duty. We have some employee recognition service awards to give out today. 5 years are Derek Bertram and Shelley Kinsman. Congratulations to the two of you. 10 years are Mario DeMarchi. Again, thank you. And we wish you both well and a long work experience in this beautiful municipality. I'm going to remind council members of their obligation to declare any pecuniary interest that you may have now or at any time in the future. Seeing none. Jesse, you're going to introduce some amendments to the agenda, please.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor Clarkson. There has been a request for an additional delegation, and it's regarding item 10.4.1 for a request to purchase an unopened vote allowance. And also there are two additional reasons to go into closed session under section 239.2 of the Municipal Act. E, litigation or potential litigation, and F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege. And that's for a matter regarding a judicial review related to quarries. So if council is in agreement of adding all of those, I would just ask that the agenda be approved as amended.
Thank you. So can we have a motion to approve this amended agenda? Deputy Mayor Windover, Councillor Franzen, all in favor? Motion is carried. We need to adopt the meetings of November the 2nd and the statutory public meeting for also November the 2nd, 4.1 and 4.2. Motion for both minutes, please. Councillor Lambshead, Councillor Franzen, all in favor? Motion is carried. Minutes and reports from committees and boards. Economic Development Advisory Committee, November the 8th, 2021. Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee, November the 4th. And Police Services Board, November the 4th. Could we have a motion to receive all these minutes, please? Deputy Mayor Windover, Councillor Armstrong, all in favor. Thank you. Liaison reports. Do we have any reports from the EDAC, Peterborough, PRCAC, PSB, and Library Board? Anybody want to comment on any of these? Seeing none. Statutory public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act. We need a motion to suspend the regular meeting. Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Lambshead, all in favor? Thank you. Now, Sarah, if we can have you introduce zoning bylaw amendment 21-23, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. This is a public meeting under Section 34 of the Planning Act to consider an amendment to the municipality zoning bylaw B 2014-070. A notice of public meeting for today's application containing the prescribed information was circulated to all landowners within a 120-meter radius of the subject lands at least 20 days prior to this meeting. The notice was also mailed to all prescribed agencies, public bodies, and persons in accordance with the regulations. Anyone wanting to be notified of any decision from today's public meeting must send in a written request to myself or the clerk, and the notice of passing will be mailed to them, setting out the method and manner in which appeals may be made to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Please note that if a person does not send a written comment prior to the passing of the bylaw or make an oral submission at a public meeting, that person may not be entitled to appeal the decision. So this is a public meeting for file number 21-23 to consider a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by the owners Brian and Mary Peoples and Ivan Combs of 865 and 867 County Road 36 respectively. 865 County Road 36 is zoned environmental protection, whereas 867 County Road 36 is zoned both environmental protection and rural. The wetland feature based around the environmental protection zone has been assessed by the Kawartha Region Conservation Authority, who have determined that the wetlands feature's true boundaries currently do not accurately reflect the current zoning category of the properties. The applicants wish to rezone the lands to accurately reflect the true boundaries of the wetland feature. The wetland feature will remain zoned environmental protection, whereas most of 865 County Road 36 would be rezoned rural residential, and most of 867 County Road 36 would be rezoned rural. There is a planning report on the agenda from the municipality's planning consultant, Chris Jones. Chris's report indicates that several surrounding property owners would be affected by the rezoning, as the amendment, upon approval, would serve to reduce the imposed constraint to all of the neighboring parcels. It is noted that 856 and 867, or rather 865 and 867 County Road 36 are currently the most constrained by the existing environmental protection zone, as their parcels are nearly entirely zoned environmental protection. He notes that the application is generally consistent with the growth plan. Please note that the eastern lot to be rezoned rural residential, as indicated on the planning report, no longer exists as a single lot, as a 2016 merger agreement amalgamated the smaller lot to the larger parcel to the north. As a result, only the lot to the west will be rezoned from environmental protection to rural residential. The municipality has received commentary from the Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board in support of the proposed amendment. Additionally, the County of Peterborough Engineering and Design Division have indicated that they have no comments on the proposed application. No further comments have been received. Further, if any member of the public did not register with the clerk indicating their intent to make an oral submission but would like to do so at this time, please use the raise a hand feature so we are able to prompt you in order for you to make an oral submission. Thank you.
I don't think we see any. Are there questions or comments from council? Councillor Lambshead, please.
Just a comment. And I think it's very important that we have all these areas of environmental protection accurately identified so that we don't run into any issues with building and things that are encroaching on them setbacks. So I think it's very important that we identify the actual areas of environmental protection.
I think that's a very valid comment because people are being held up without, as Carol would say, good data. Anyone else with a comment? Okay, thank you very much, Sarah. Now, can we have a motion to reconvene the regular meeting, please? Deputy Mayor Windover, Councillor Lambshead, all in favor? That motion is carried. Business arising from the statutory public meeting. And Sarah Delamater, Junior Planner, sorry, Sarah, Junior Planner, Zoning Bylaw Amendment, file number 2123 for Peoples versus Coons. And if we could have a motion, please. Councillor Lambshead,
Motion to approve the zoning bylaw amendments
thank you.
as presented.
Councillor Armstrong is our seconder. All in favor? That motion is carried. Presentations. Delegations. We will now have a delegation from Matthew Helfand, Aird and Burles LLP regarding the request to purchase unopened road allowance. Bob McGregor, item 10.4.1. Please unmute your audio and or share your camera and make your presentation. You will have 10 minutes, and I will ask council that all questions are saved until the end of this presentation. Proceed,
Good
please.
morning. Good morning, Your Worship, members of council. Can you confirm you're able to hear me?
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to delegate before council today. Thank you for the introduction as well. My name is Matthew Helfand, and I'm a municipal lawyer with the law firm of Aird and Burles LLP. I represent Mr. Bob McGregor, who is the owner of a property municipally known as 1902 Oak Ridge Court and known more informally as McGregor Island. I'm speaking today in strong support of the staff recommendations that council reconsider their earlier decision of January 12, 2021 and support the sale of a portion of the unopened road allowance to Mr. McGregor, and that this matter be dealt with through the application process for surplus lands and negotiated with staff, subject to the conditions and the provisions of that policy. So really what we're looking for here, and on behalf of Mr. McGregor, is endorsement of this staff recommendation to permit us to work with staff to facilitate this sale. I set out in my letter that was submitted to staff and should be before council in their agenda package. It is our position that this sale of land is fully in line with municipal policies as it relates to the sale and disposition of land, including shoreline land. It is also something that makes good legal, practical, and land use planning sense. And I will, if I could turn directly to page 3 of my letter, I just want to go over quickly our position in respect of the town's policy, because I understand that when this application was first before council, staff did make a recommendation that a use agreement be entered with my client, and there was discussion that this matter should not be approved, the application should not be approved because of matter of precedent. But having looked at the policies, and I believe the staff in their report agree with this as well, the municipal policy as it relates to sale of road allowances, it fully supports this particular application. As clause 1 sets out, road allowances that provide access to water will be retained in municipal ownership. That is what clause 1 says. However, clause 3 and 4 very specifically detail that this is not a steadfast rule, but rather in circumstances, unique circumstances, like those of Mr. McGregor, the municipality can in fact consider the closure and conveyance of road allowance, even those that lead up to water, particularly if I could ask Madam Clerk or whoever is guiding the letter to just scroll down slightly to the next page. One of the conditions in which council could grant sale of municipal property and a road allowance that leads to water is if, sorry, I just went down a little bit too far, if the road allowance to be closed provides an existing or potential public access to a lake or river, council must be satisfied that there is adequate alternative public access. So that is the threshold I submit by which council to determine whether this should be granted, whether there's alternative public access to the road. In this case, there is a public boat launch that's 600 meters to the north of this road allowance. And additionally, all of the cottages and all of the lots immediately surrounding the road allowance do have lakefront access. So as set out in my letter, as a practical matter and historically for the past several decades, Mr. McGregor has been the only one to use this road to access his island. And without having access to his island through this road, he effectively becomes a landlocked island because he loses that ability to have unfettered access, which is something that is a matter of good legal practice and good land use planning. So it is my submission that this is a very unique set of circumstances, and staff staff recommendation should be adopted by council. I would also suggest that this is a matter that can be negotiated. The specific details can be negotiated with through the application process, and there is an application that was submitted by Mr. McGregor in accordance with the policies. So subject to questions from council, those are my submissions today. I do believe that my letter and the staff recommendations speak strongly in favor of this. And in addition, I would ask that I did see that an additional delegate was added to the list. I'm not sure who that is, whether they're in support or against this, but I would request of the clerk that if there's any issues that arise from that delegation, that I may be given the opportunity to come back on the line to respond if necessary. Thank you very much, and I'm pleased to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, council, do I see hands? Peter?
Yeah, just more or less a statement. I've been to the property in the spring of last year with Mr. McGregor. He showed me his dock and the right of way, and I think this application makes sense.
Is which?
It makes sense. I would support this application.
Anyone else? Councillor Lamshead.
I must admit, I'm a little concerned about the entire road allowance being purchased by one owner. And there's another owner that seems to be encroaching on the road allowance. So I think there's probably some provisions needed in there for the other landowner that's kind of using some of that municipal road allowance, I think. So I think that will be done through the planning department.
Councillor Lamshead, if I may, that's absolutely right. And the staff recommendation does direct that staff obtain a written commitment from the adjacent owner to purchase a portion of that land as well. So it is not an application to purchase by my client to purchase the entire road allowance, but just that portion of the road allowance that is necessary for access and that is currently improved by his dock and his driveway that was authorized by council. So certainly some sort of joint, not a joint purchase, but an opportunity for the other owner to purchase is contemplated within the staff recommendations, the details of which can be determined through the application process.
Thank you.
I'm just over scared of this second, some kind of a precedent, because we've always made it so that, you know, public right of way cannot be sold going to the lake for the future use. That's the big thing. It's what happens 50 years from now or whatever. That's why I believe was the idea we didn't sell it. We use it, but not sell it. Thanks.
Thank you for that. My question is parking. If this is sold, how much parking ends up being, and does the parking end up being problematic for the people who are on either side of it? Can you speak to that, Matthew?
Your worship, can you possibly clarify, probably in terms of the existing users of 23 or for my client?
Well, I guess if they buy it, then it's theirs to use however they choose. So if that becomes 4 or 5 cars in a row, which, you know, depending on what kind of a party is taking place on the island, does it infringe on other people's ability to get to their land? I know when I looked, I wasn't sure just where that I think parking has always been kind of an issue there.
That's right, your worship, and perhaps then to the individual who's operating this, you could go to the survey, which is included at page 23 of the report, or just as an attachment to this letter, and I can explain, because your worship, I think that this sale and this proposal actually, and yeah, this works, this image works, actually addresses the parking situation much better than the status quo. So from the outset, this is a public road allowance, which as a default, the public has access over. Now, in this specific circumstance, Mr. McGregor was granted a permit by the municipality to construct a roadway to permit him to access his island. What's come to bear over the last several years is that parking on the southern portion, where you see it says Frame Cottage, that's been encroaching into that driveway. And so the purpose of this purchase is, in fact, to secure this differentiation between there can be parking on on the southern owner's property, but at the same time ensuring first and foremost that access to the island is permitted. So as I don't see there being an issue in terms of parking from my client. And in fact, I think that this purchase could potentially, you know, I don't want to speak for the other owner, but what I would say is that allowing my client to purchase this would permit access and doesn't create a parking issue, but in fact alleviates an existing parking issue.
So am I hearing that the township a number of years ago actually granted permission for him to use that?
That's absolutely right. To construct a driveway many years ago, the exact date and the application was detailed in my letter, and he's been using it ever since. And so the exact day in which he purchased, he's been using the road allowance since 1971. And in 1995, he was granted permission to construct the existing driveway. He received a permit and he received endorsement from this council, not this council, but a predecessor of this council, to construct that driveway, and has been using it ever since.
Yes, Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to build on what Deputy Mayor was saying earlier. This is not unlike a situation we had last summer, the summer before, where people came forward wanting to purchase an unopened road allowance on a lake. And so I think this is part of a much larger study that is being undertaken right now in terms of unopened shore road allowances, docks on those, licenses of occupation, et cetera. So I would be reluctant to make a call on this one until we've had an opportunity to go through that study and consider it as part of the larger picture.
Any other comments? My comment is that precedents are one thing, but I think this person has used this with basically the blessing of the township for a long time. I don't know why it can't be treated as a one-off, but let's wait till we get a motion or something on this. Councillor Franzen.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. It is access to his island. He actually had the need, and the dock was allowed and the road was approved by the municipality. So I think this is much different than most of the other dealings that we've had. And I know that he's had a parking issue with the neighbors. It's a short-term rental and he couldn't access his dock. So this would actually cause the neighbors to have better relationships because there would be a delineation where the properties end.
Okay, anyone else ready to put a motion forward, or?
I just want to make sure that we do have provisions in our zoning bylaw for this exact reason. So we can sell this to property owners because there is a good reason to do so. Like 4A and page 2 or 3 and 4 of the report speaks to that there are actually provisions for us to do exactly what they're asking us to do.
Yes, Councillor
The
Armstrong.
delegation from the neighbor.
Yeah.
So perhaps we could hear from
Yeah.
that individual
Yeah.
at this time.
Yes.
Yeah, that is correct, that we do have a delegation from the neighboring property owner up next. So perhaps we could just receive this delegation for information as well as the next one, and then discuss the actual decision on the road allowance during the report section of the agenda.
Okay, so we're just on hold.
If I could, a motion to receive Mr. Helfand's delegation.
Deputy Mayor Windover, Councillor Franzen, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you very much.
So you stay around. We will now have a delegation from Andy Flexo regarding the request to purchase unopened road allowance. Bob McGregor, item 10.4.1. Please unmute your audio and or share your camera and make a presentation. You will have 10 minutes, and I'll ask council that all questions are saved till the end of the presentation. Go ahead, sir.
He might be self,
We can see you, but we don't hear you.
he's muted.
I think you are muted.
Yeah.
phone in. Technology is so wonderful when it works.
What's he trying to say, Judge?
I think he's trying to say he's going to try to
Yeah.
phone, isn't he?
Phone at home.
I think he's asking if that's the number, and I don't know.
I don't
It
think
is.
it was a 647 or 547.
It's not the number I see.
No,
01888.
I don't think so. He's got a,
What did it say, Jared?
I think it's the wrong number.
He's flashing a number, but it's not working.
Should I write that 188 number and hold it up to
That
him?
is the correct number. That's the non-toll-free number.
Oh, so it is the correct number.
Oh,
816? Yeah, that's the other one, the toll-free number he's got now.
Andy, if you can hear us, you'll also have to enter in an access code and an audio pin, which you should have.
Shall we move on and let him try to get on at a later date? Not if you can hear us. Can you hear us? No. Can you hear us? No.
Andy, to unmute on the phone, you may have to press *6.
He can't hear you though.
He's doing it.
His lips are moving, but nothing's coming out.
That's too bad.
I think he can hear us.
Pardon?
I do believe he can hear us, but
I don't think so.
we can't hear you.
Can you hear us?
He put his thumb up, yes?
Yeah,
Pardon?
yeah, he did.
What do you suggest he can do?
Perhaps we could just take a recess and I can try and get Andy on the phone and
Okay.
connect him.
Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute recess at 1:28.
Hello?
We can hear you, Andy.
Hi.
Just
Okay,
give us 1 minute here.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, here we are.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi.
Welcome.
Okay. Good to see you all. Good to hear you all mostly. Thank you so much. My name is Andy. I've sent you. I'm the owner of 23 Oak Ridge Court. I just want to thank council for the last minute acceptance to allow me to speak here. I didn't know that we had to go through this, but thank you again. I just wanted to say that I mean I am for this the sale or the transfer, if you would to McGregor and myself. I think it would be a good thing to help because there have been quite a few issues there. But as far as the letter that you folks have on file there from McGregor, there are some inconsistencies there. We've only had one issue there where somebody has parked in his driveway, and it was rectified within 5 minutes. So the driveway, if anything, that is currently there interferes with the enjoyment and the use, my family, of using the property, because since we've owned the property, there's been a constant barrage of heavy machinery and bins and porta potties and everything put there. And a lot of his workers have been using our property, without any kind of permission. So I think if council does approve this, it may in turn help out the situation. But what I'm asking for is just the sketch. If you can scroll down to the sketch you have there showing property that's highlighted. I think there it is there. So what I was going to say was, if you're going to approve, I think it might be prudent and more equitable and fair to give each of us a 33-foot swath of land rather than giving McGregor a full 66 feet of waterfront. I mean, for him to access his property, he doesn't really need 66 feet of waterfront. 33 feet would be more than enough to put a dock there, to put a boat there, to have access with his driveway. So that would be my main concern, because to have him have all of that waterfront, it would only make it worse for me and my family with all of the traffic going back and forth there. And I just think it would be more fair to do it that way. And that's pretty much it. That was my main concern then. That's all. And when would you decide to do that? When is this going forward going to actually take place? And if so, if it does take place, what is council's position on the erection of buildings on that lot? Wouldn't want to see any kind of structures or garages or anything like that built on his side. I mean, that would be a detriment to the area that wouldn't look good, and would be very, very close to our building. That's the only concern that we could address that.
Okay, can I open this up to council for questions? Unless you have more to say there.
No, that's all. Thank you again.
Okay. Well, stay on, because you can respond to council if they have questions. Yes,
That might be a good alternative, to split up 33 feet. Wait.
anybody else?
I think, I don't know if this is time for a debate, but Matthew is on the line too. I wonder if he would know whether his client would be in agreement with that.
Are you still there, Matthew? Yes, he
I'm
is.
still here, Your Worship. What I would suggest is that, Mr. McGregor is the only one with an application that's in. And I think that it's very important that if council gives this direction, that it's not on council floor that we're making the determination of how this is dealt with, but that it's dealt with in accordance with the process that's set out through the surplus land declaration and the disposition of municipal land. So what I would suggest is that if council does direct to adopt staff recommendation, these details could be worked out with staff through the joint application, because this isn't the end of figuring out how this would work, but this would be an important step of directing that staff approve of this recommendation. And I'm not going to comment on those issues brought up by my friend here, but I would suggest that, currently it is a public roadway, even though it's unopened, and that by dividing it up in whatever way it's divided up, creates private property, that these neighbor issues could be resolved in a much more equitable manner, and would not be having folks come back to the municipality time and time again to make complaints to bylaw about encroachments or this, that, and the other. And so I do think this is a solution, the details of which can be worked out with staff.
So I'm going to take a stab at this. What happens if we send the two of them back to come with a proposition for us that they can live with and we can live with? Anybody? Yes.
Through you, I think that's what we're talking about here. Andy, are you willing to make an application to purchase part of that road allowance?
Absolutely. Listen, I'm not a spiteful person. All I want is whatever's fair for myself and my family and for Mr. McGregor and his family. And if the council wants to approve it, the only fair and equitable way to do it is to grant an equal share of road front and waterfront to each of us. And if there's any driveways that are in question, and if there's any other structures such as a dock or a retaining wall, all of that is movable. Obviously, it wasn't there before. It can also be moved to accommodate new lot lines. So I'm in agreement with it.
Okay, anybody else?
Would there be another possibility of leaving just like it, just selling the 33 feet and leaving the other common? Huh? The other 33 feet? I'm just concerned about other people at the back, using it down the road.
Well, those things usually are more problematic than they are anything else.
You're saying to sell me the 33 feet and not Mr. McGregor, or vice versa?
Well, no, Mr. McGregor, he was one that, and then on your side, like,
Councillor Franzen.
I think the fairest way to do it would be to sell each one of the 33 feet. And as the lawyer suggested, I'll come back with a proposal to the council.
Is there any way that something like that can be written so that a boathouse or something can't be erected on it? Boathouse, 33 feet, you couldn't get a boathouse on it anyway.
no, you're in no room anyway.
Yeah, so that doesn't enter into it. Yes.
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. I see that Adele Arbor was going to speak to this later on the agenda.
Yep.
I don't know whether we want to bring her in now, or perhaps we can just hold the discussion for now and wait until we hear from her later.
Are you there now, Adele? Would you like to jump in or you want to come in later?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm prepared to present the report at any time.
Well, let's do it now and see if we can't deal with this.
All right, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, the report that's on the agenda today, planning staff revisited Mr. McGregor's request, and I reached out to the neighboring property owner at 23 Oak Ridge Court, Andy, who's did his presentation today, and I wanted to ensure that he was agreeable to purchase the southerly half of the unopened road allowance, because I thought we could work something out between these two property owners. As council is aware, Mr. McGregor originally received council's approval in 1995 to construct a driveway over the northern half of the road allowance to access the island property that he solely owns, and advises that his family had been utilizing the road allowance since 1971. He subsequently received approval from Trent Severn Waterway to install a retaining wall and dock. Mr. McGregor's solicitor has provided the correspondent in support of his client's request. The property owners of 23 Oak Ridge Court in 1997 entered into an encroachment agreement with the municipality. So as you can see, previous councils have given each of these property owners permissions to use that unopened road allowance. For the reasons listed in the report, staff are recommending the sale of the unopened road allowance equally shared between these two property owners. And the reasons that I've included in my report is because of the existing permissions given by previous councils. Council has a discretion in accordance to municipal policy to stop up and close the unopened road allowance and to sell it. As long as there's no public access to the lake, there is other public access to the lake, and it's not intended to be used for future transportation needs or municipal use or recreational trail. It has merit, and I don't believe it sets a negative precedent in the future. Each case would be looked at on a case-by-case basis by council. And so I'm recommending that the unopened road allowance, the northern half go to Mr. McGregor and the southern half go to the property owner at 23 Oak Ridge Court. As you could see, 23 Oak Ridge Court, that part of their structures are on the unopened road allowance. It's encumbered with a corner of their dwelling, a pump house unit, and part of the driveway. So for those reasons, I'm recommending that we go through the process, and we will have the property owner at 23 Oak Ridge Court fill out an application to purchase the southern half, and all costs are borne equally by both property owners.
Yes, Peter.
I'd like to make a motion at this time that we, the recommendations from our staff, that we support those recommendations.
Okay, do we have a second? Thank you, Councillor Lamzett. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Evan Grieger, Director of Public Works. Pre-approval for replacement tandem and mower.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mayor Clarkson. Through you, Mayor Clarkson, to members of council. Before you today is Public Works report for pre-approval for the 2023 budget to replace a tandem truck and our roadside mowing tractor. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, do we have questions or do we have a motion? Councillor Branson.
Motion support.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Armstrong, discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Recreation facilities, none. Fire and emergency, none. I think we wore them out yesterday. Building and planning, Adele. And this is the one that you've just spoken to, so we've dealt with that one. Okay, Sarah, we're looking at a consent application for an addition to a lot. B7.
Through you, Madam Mayor, on today's agenda, there is a municipal appraisal form for consent file B-70-21 submitted by owners Alan and Rosie Howard for a lot addition. This is a revised MAF that was completed on November 15th to reflect a phone conversation with the owner on the 12th of November. This replaces the MAF submitted on the agenda on November 5th. The subject land is located on 3812 County Road 121. The proposed benefiting lot is located on 121 Dutch Line Road West. The application conforms to official plan policies as the intent for both retained and severed parcel is to continue the existing uses. However, the severed parcel does not conform to the zoning bylaw, as a portion of the northern land, which is approximately 29 acres or 11.74 hectares, is zoned general commercial. This portion of land fronts no municipally maintained road, consists primarily of organic soils, and abuts an environmental protection zone. There are currently no existing structures on the portion of land designated general commercial, nor are there any records of a general commercial use ever existing on the property. In addition, the current official plan does not recognize the northern portion of the severed parcel as a commercial use designation. It instead recognizes the entire parcel as a rural use designation. The owners are aware that the resulting retained lands would not be a sufficient size to operate any permitted use requiring a lot area over 12.8 hectares or 31.6 acres, such as a farm. The owners have expressed that the lands would not be suitable to run a farming operation due to the wetland features, soil hazards, and lay of the land. Additionally, owners of the severed land on 3812 County Road 121 are also the owners of the benefiting parcel located at 121 Dutch Line Road West. There is an environmental letter report by Cambion in support of the proposed lot addition attached to the agenda. A peer review of said letter by Stantec Consulting Ltd is also attached to today's agenda. Staff have reviewed the application and recommend that council supports the consent application, subject to the condition of a merger agreement and a zoning bylaw amendment application for a portion of the severed lands to amend the general commercial zoning to rural.
Okay, questions on this? And if not, can we have a motion, please? Councillor Lamson.
Motion to support with the conditions as recommended.
Okay, and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Windover, all in favor? Motion is carried. Donna, Finance Accounts Payable.
Thank you, and through you. Just for council's information, accounts payable for the month of October.
Thank you. Motion, please.
Receive.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Councillor Armstrong, seconder. Deputy Mayor Windover. Donna, you're going to speak to the economic development.
Call for the vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? That motion is carried. And Donna, you're going to speak to the economic development.
Sure. Thank you, and through you. I know Lynn was going to try to get here today, but that's fine. So that is the quarterly report for the Economic Development Officer. I know she has been working, she actually sent out a survey to the small businesses and is going to bring a report back shortly to council on the results of that. And she's working at presenting some data on the website use and the Facebook, Twitter, that type of thing. And I know is looking to streamline that a bit in a more of a dashboard format. So yes, any questions? I can try to answer those, but that's for your information.
Thank you. Motion to receive that report. Councillor Lambshead, Deputy Mayor Windover, all in favor? Motion.
Just a comment. if I may.
Yes.
And both Donna and Lynn knows, I think that one of the important things we were trying to figure out was whether or not the new website is drawing more visitors to it than the old one. So that's one of the key questions that I know Lynn is working on to try and answer for us.
Yes.
That'll be important.
And Jesse, you're going to speak to Ann's.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor Clarkson, this report brings forward council expenses for the month of October 2021 for council's consideration and approval.
Motion, please. Deputy Mayor Windover, Councillor Franson, all in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, Jesse, accountability and transparency, public notice policy review.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Clarkson. The municipal act stipulates that we must have adopt and maintain policies with respect to public notice and accountability and transparency. These policies are a little bit outdated. 2016 and 2017 were when they were passed. Staff did a comprehensive review and there was a complete rewrite of both of these policies, and a bylaw to adopt both policies are included on today's agenda for council's consideration.
Okay, so motion, please. Okay,
Motion to receive for information.
okay, Councillor Lambshead, Deputy Mayor Windover, discussion. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, correspondence for information. Anything there that anybody wants to bring out? If not, we have a
Yeah, I
motion.
have one from that, what take out, that letter from Randy Law. Discussing about rescinding his agreement with Jubilee Mountains. I believe it's the last item on the. Unless it's been changed.
11.4.
Randy Law.
So what do you want it?
11.4.
Yes,
Through you, perhaps we could have a motion to receive items 11.1 through 11.3 to be received for council's information, and then you can proceed with discussing item 11.4.
okay, can we have Councillor Armstrong?
I'll make a motion to receive those three items.
Thank you. Councillor Lambshead, all in favor? Okay, and Councillor Franzen, you want to speak to
Yeah, I'd
11.4?
like to speak to this, the noise impact study that we have along the road might be impacted with his withdrawal from the agreement because they were going to move that hunt camp and that they no longer have the agreement. So I just need some information from staff how that would impact the noise study and the peer review.
Now, based on information that has come forward, I am not going to participate in this. So I probably should. Jesse, do I leave while this discussion is going on?
Sure, if you'd like to excuse yourself, Deputy Mayor Windover will take over the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. I think that staff, if Adele is still on the line, perhaps she can make a comment as to how this submission is being handled.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Windover. We have received the correspondence, and I've reached out to our external planning consultant, Chris Jones, and also the planning consultant for Dewdney Mountain. So we are going to be having the reports updated with the removal of this agreement, and we will also have our peer reviewer take a look at it as well. So we are sending the information off to the consultants, and we'll be waiting for their response.
Thank you, Dan. Here.
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor. This is the closest receptor to the proposed haul route, so it has a direct effect in my view.
Yeah.
Thank you for proceeding.
Yes. You. Any more comments?
No, I'll just make a motion to receive.
Okay.
I'll second that.
correspondence.
Peter and
Go ahead,
Carol?
leave it status handle on it.
Any in favor? Okay. Okay. Pat, okay. Give it back to the mayor.
Okay, next one is 12.1 under correspondence for action. Buckhorn Community Center sponsorship request. Isn't this what normally would go under donations? Anybody?
I'd be willing to make a motion that would go for the $125, the Santa level on the tree.
Oh, second.
Okay, we have a conversation. All in favor? Yes,
So
Carol.
just a question, in terms of whether or not that's in our budget. We
So,
have room in the budget for that this year.
right, so through you, there is a remaining budget in council's advertisement portion of the budget. So there's $1,038.90 left there for 2021. So
Okay.
And I was at the end this morning and the trees are going very fast. If we don't get on it right away, they're all going to be gone. I've inquired in buying one myself, and so, and they said they didn't know if they were any available.
Okay, so we've got our motion, our seconder, all in favor?
Yep.
That is carried. Okay, Omer's investment performance, Fred Hahn, president of CUPE. Yes,
Motion to receive.
thank you, Councillor Armstrong, and seconded by Councillor Lambshead. All in favor? Motion is carried. Bylaws on the agenda. Jesse, would you like to speak to this, please?
Sure, thank you. There was one bylaw on today's agenda that did not have a public meeting or a corresponding staff report, and that's B 2021-122, which is a bylaw to appoint both Councillor Lambshead and Franzen to the Committee of Adjustment Property Standards Committee based on direction at the November 2nd meeting.
Okay. And we don't need a motion for that. So then we've got the appointment of the council members, and we do need the motion for that one. And that's for the Committee of Adjustment for 2022. Motion, you can appoint yourself.
It would be self-serving, so no, I will not make it.
I'll make the motion to appoint Councillor Lambshead and Councillor Franzen to the Committee of
Thank you.
Adjustments.
So it's up to you there, Deputy Mayor Wendover. Would you second this motion?
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favor? That is passed. Accountability and transparency policy, we need a motion, please. Councillor Lambshead,
Motion to
Deputy Mayor
approve.
Wendover, thank you.
Oh, just call for the vote.
All in favor? Thank you. Public notice policy. Motion, please. Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Franzen, all in favor? Motion is carried. B 2021-125 zoning bylaw amendment for file number 2123 for Peoples and Coombs. Motion, please. Councillor
Motion
Lambshead,
to
Deputy
approve.
Mayor Wendover. All in favor? Carried. Business arising out of a previous meeting. Don't see any. Notice of motion. Don't see any. Liaison reports for external boards and committees. Anybody, any? Yes.
I just have one quick thing. Usually caves, there was a meeting this past week and it seems to be progressing. There's going to be a major fundraiser to secure that property, but there are some positive signs. If
Okay.
Councillor Armstrong was on the line with the meeting, if she has anything to add.
Perhaps, that was great. Thanks for bringing it up, Councillor Francis. Just that Kawartha Land Trust has a conditional offer to purchase it, and they will then be commencing fundraising. So there's hope.
Which I think will be a big benefit to this municipality.
So you two are on that committee, are you?
No, we were just on the call.
Okay.
It's not a committee of council.
Any other information items that anybody wants to bring forward? Santa Claus Parade is coming right along.
Yeah.
If it just doesn't get too awful cold. Now we need a motion to go into closed to discuss the security of the property of the municipality or local boards, litigation or potential litigation, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege. Anyone that is listening or viewing the electronic meeting may remain on the line for when council rises from closed session. A motion to go into closed, please. Councillor Armstrong and Deputy Mayor Windover, all in favor. That motion is carried. Mhm. So we need to get a motion to rise from closed, right?
Okay.
Deputy Mayor Windover, Councillor Armstrong, all in favor. That's carried. Now, business arising from closed meeting, adoption of the minutes from the regular from November the 2nd. Motion to adopt the closed minute meetings. Councillor Lambshead, Councillor Armstrong, all in favor. That passed. Adoption of the Kermy bylaw and yes,
Sorry, through you.
that's where you're going to major.
This is, what- yep, the other business arising from closed session is the recommendation is that council receive the report from the CAO treasurer and council approve the technology proposal submitted by Microwage and that service delivery reserve funds be used for this work. And further that council direct staff to cancel the IT managed service agreement with the county of Peterborough effective December 31st, 2021. And further that council direct staff and to enter into a managed service agreement with Microwage effective December 1st, 2021.
I'm sure glad you read that.
I will be happy to make that motion.
Okay. And seconded by Deputy Mayor Wendover. All in favor? Thank you. Now, are we doing the confirming bylaw? Are we there now? Adoption of the confirming bylaw, please. Deputy Mayor Wendover, Councillor Lambshead, all in favor? Thank you. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Franzen, Councillor Armstrong, all in favor? Thank you. That motion is passed.